Good morning. Can you hear me? So I am a parochial school boy, so we're going to start on time. I just got to tell you. Welcome to our April lecture with the Kalamazoo Art League. We are so pleased to present Heidi Weiss, muralist extraordinaire. And we were talking a little before the show, but I really believe in murals as art as change in our society, and we need more of it. Elaine's going to introduce Heidi later, but I want to get in some notices and thank yous. Spring is my favorite time of year, even though I'm still waiting for the hummingbirds, and it's a great time for art in Kalamazoo and for the Art League. So we have three more Art League events this year. So May 13th, we have Eric Souther, who will present kinetic imaging, anthropology, ritual, deep time, and tool making. It will be a mind-bending presentation, and you will not want to miss it. It will be here in the morning. The Food as Art reception will be hosted by Sherry's Chocolates, and you will not want to miss that either. The last departure of the year is Cinco de Mayo, and that is just next week. And David has some updates for you.
I do. The poet says April's the coolest month, so we're going in May. Going to Notre Dame, we're going to see the South Bend Museum of Art is having a special opening for us. We'll be leaving from here and getting down there by 10 o'clock in the morning. Curators will take us through their new exhibitions. Then we're going to go for a Mexican lunch at what I'm told is the best Mexican restaurant in South Bend. And I have that indirectly on good authority from the former mayor of South Bend, Pete Buttigieg. Not personally, we looked it up. Then we're going to the Raton Murphy Museum, which is South Bend's Notre Dame Museum. We're doing the 150th year retrospective of their best 150 pieces. And we'll follow that with a tour of the Basilica of the Sacred Heart, which is one of the amazing Gothic reconstructions here in the Midwest. And then we'll come home. Now, the bus is not entirely full, and more than enough people to make the bus work and to provide Art League with a great deal of support for its future financial needs. But I have a couple of extra tickets here. You can sign up today. You get your check in to me or to the Art Institute. For the end of this weekend, there's room for you on the bus. So I'll be here after the program. And look me up. There's these forms on the desk out there when you sign in. And we'd love to have you join us. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And the last event of the year. Oh.
There were some questions. Going to leave here at 8 o'clock in the morning. Be there or be square.
So almost a civilized hour. And the last Art League event of the year is going to be on May 20th. The board is hosting a wine, food, and music reception for members. If you're not a member, you can show up at the event and sign up, which we have the Parkview Hills Clubhouse as the event center. We have the Kalamazoo Concert Band Brass Quintet playing, and we have an abundance of food and wine thanks to Nancy. And so y'all come. And that also reminds me, since it's for members only, is that we are now in the beginning of membership. So get your signups for membership for next year, because we really have a great slate lined up for next year as well. I do want to thank the KIA, Michelle, and all the KIA staff for hosting us and homing us. And thanks especially to Jennifer, who keeps the trains running on time on these presentations. We so appreciate that sincerely. There's lots happening at the KIA, as you know. You just need to look at the new sight lines to see it is chock full of stuff, and the art fair is coming up. And then finally, I want to thank Sarkozy's Bakery for hosting our Food as Art reception following Heidi's presentation. After Heidi's presentation and questions, then Sharon Gleason, who leads that effort for us, is going to come up and introduce Sarkozy's and have them explain a little bit about their concepts in food that relate to Heidi's presentation. So thank you very much. And with that, Elaine.
Jim, I've got a question.
How do you sign up for the reception on the 20th? Do you sign up for that?
You can see the membership people at the table, or there will be more information on how you sign up, because we do want RSVPs.
Well, I hope this means that all of you were without tree damage. So that's why you're here. Did anyone have tree damage? One or two, okay. We did not. Heidi Weiss is a painter based here in Kalamazoo. She's originally from Romeo, Michigan, which I think is maybe to her credit because it seems like it suits her personality. I don't know. Okay, she holds a BFA and MA in painting from Western Michigan and an MFA in fiber from Cranbrook Academy of Art. She teaches painting in the Gwen Frostic School of Art at Western Michigan University and maintains an active studio practice here in Kalamazoo. So welcome our little favorite Kalamazooan, Heidi Weiss.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here today.
Louder, please.
Oh, how about now? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to the Arts League for inviting me to join today. And I would like to speak with you, as I adjust this microphone, about collaboration in practice. I want to talk to you about the idea of collaboration as an important part of my artistic practice. And maybe through this talk, you'll realize that you have a lot of collaboration in your world too. Or maybe you'll realize that you would like a lot more collaboration in your world. You're going to hear me use the word collaboration a lot right now. So before I get started, I want to get my cursor over here. You're kidding me. Hold on. Okay, there we go. These shapes are going to be showing up a lot within my talk. And we're going to be coming back through them many times as well. Each one represents a different part of my practice, a different kind of work, and a different kind of relationship. I've been thinking a lot about pollination and the way to describe how influences move and what it produces when it lands somewhere else and becomes something new. So the flower doesn't just receive pollen, just as the bee doesn't only carry it. Something becomes possible through that contact. That's what this talk is essentially about. What happens when two things, or three things, or four come together and come into contact, and neither one ever stays the same. Hi. So as it's been noted, my name is Heidi Weiss, and I am a painter here in Kalamazoo. And my credentials have already been stated, but because I have a slide dedicated to it, I'm going to say it again. I have a BFA in painting from Western Michigan University. I have a Master's of Art in Painting from Western Michigan University. And then to throw my life a curveball, I have a degree, a Master's of Fine Art in Fiber from Cranbrook Academy of Art. It's a very weird combination, but it has directly influenced how I make my work and how I function as an artist today. Here I am, liking really big work. This is from my Bachelor of Fine Arts day, so sorry for the grainy photographs, but it's been a minute. The one on the left is a younger me, obviously, for scale. These works were 6 feet by 8 feet in size. So I have been thinking about scale from a very early age, or really early in my academic career at least. I'm not sure I knew exactly what to do with it at that moment, but I think this informed a lot of how I kept going in my practice. So when I went into my Master's of Arts program, my work shifted and I began to take on a more personal direction while still keeping that self-portrait included in my work. The work revolved around my fear and my personal fear of water. I wanted to suggest what those realities looked like from my perspective. This work that exists as a painting is also highly performative. It took me getting dressed up and in the car and see me trotting around with this on to gain my own source imagery. I went out into public like this a few times, and while some of that only exists in photographs, I will not share those today. It fueled the painting series, and it opened me up to the idea that art is more than just what existed on canvas. I began meddling with fiber early on. This is embroidery, to be exact. I was thinking about how thread can mimic that of a paintbrush, how thread can be painterly, and how adorning the objects that give us anxiety might give that care and attention to them that makes us think differently about them. This piece is entitled Red Herring. And a way to note that I'm trying a new method of coping here. The verdict is still out on exactly what I was hoping to attain here, but it produced an object I have never experienced in my work before. Did it resolve my phobia? Absolutely not. I believe that this was a turning point in how I conceptually thought about how I wanted to make things going forward. I also started to think about the concept of the sampler and how it was historically used as a tool to learn rudimentary things, your alphabet, your numbers, and forms of language. I toyed with the idea that if I were able to take the time to recreate images like this, where I'm reinterpreting images from a deep sea diver manual, that I would be able to absorb that information and understand exactly what to do if I ever got into water. It was seriously not much of it was not a serious endeavor, I should say, but I enjoyed thinking about these ideas of repetition and how the tending to it helped me focus and become more methodical in my thinking process. Even though this exists as an object on its own, it was also very performative to me. Just the act of spending hours in front of this, being very careful and delicate not to tear the paper it was originally based on, was an act in itself. This is where things get kind of weird for a minute. Cranbrook, if you're not familiar with it, you know how exploratory it can be in that institution. So this was a completely different experience for me. And you can see my work is drastically shifting once I get there. I was thinking still about the same concepts, but here things are shifting into a more visceral feeling than almost that illustrative quality that I had before. I was playing with this flesh-colored shower curtain throughout my work that became a stand-in for myself, for the body. I was developing concepts of coping mechanisms for it if I were to get in a situation if I had to be near water. Here you see these flotation devices. I'm going to say that with air quotes. I'm using that because they're already designed to not work. The one on the left has tubing installed into them that mimics the concept of that buddy breathing, that previous piece. There is only one tube that fuels both of these inflatables, and there's also an option at the center point to turn off the tube that goes to one or the other. So this is about the body, but it's also about trust. The object on the right is very similar in color palette, but this was a system of inflatables attached to a very big fan, and it was annoyingly loud. As much as you wanted to go and turn it on and activate it, there was also this part of you that did not want to experience it because it was a little overstimulating. This was set on a timer as well, so it would go on for only so long, then turn off, then sporadically turn on again. It was quite jarring. The next series is meant to show you how I began playing with the idea of installation and space. These are two of the same canvases with the phrasing, "so it goes," on them. And if you're familiar with the saying, you know that it comes from Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. And this phrase became a bit of a nod to the inevitable. And not to say I was inevitably going to have anything happen, but strangely enough, it actually did. During this time, I did have a near drowning experience, go figure. This work started to talk more about how I felt in real time, processing the fact that my phobia almost became a reality. On the left hand, below the canvases, are the same pink shower curtains, now created as sacks filled with water and attached to aquarium pumps. So you feel and hear this gurgling happening. And you see sometimes that water's oozing out of it, knowing that something worse might actually be happening. I took the same canvas out to Lake Michigan, the scene of the crime. And in that, I found this interesting sculptural moment happening there where, with the wind whipping, it mimicked the caps of the waves. I started to realize that an object put in a new space can create a completely different meaning in a much simpler way. More water. This work began to take on more of a sculptural component. This is cast wax filled with water that eventually becomes compromised, as in the water spills out into the space. As it spread across the ground, it would illuminate text that had been written in beeswax below. Once the water reached it, it would reveal that text. This was me replaying the moment where I lost control in my near drowning experience. And the last piece I want to show for this is dealing with the same subject matter, but in another sculptural form. This piece is constructed of cotton muslin, and when positioned in such a way that it was soaking up this jacquard dye. If you're not familiar with that dyeing process, salt is a really big component to activate it. I was allowing that salt to encapsulate this piece, soaking in for extremely long periods of time so that it wasn't necessarily about the dyeing process after all. It was about how it showed the actual process of absorbing, soaking, and then just staying there. This work became really hard, like a wall, once it was dry. I was able to stand on its own without anything suspending it from the ceiling. It basically leaned against the wall and was presented in a bed of sand. This was another way to watch the salt flake off the fabric and then get activated again and create its own reaction there. So a bit of alchemy, a bit of quiet, and a bit of reflection on my part of how things felt after the shock of the experience. I want to jump ahead to my personal practice right now. If you can't tell already, my work is rooted in a lot of trauma. Since then, I have shifted my trauma to more along the lines of grief. My work today is dealing with nostalgia and grief, to be exact. This work is rooted in the idea that I grew up in front of a television, and it feels as though it was part of my family dynamic. I take images from film stills, and manipulate them into the foundation for what you see here. These images are rooted in the show Law and Order. It seems a bit random, but to spill the tea, Law and Order was one of those shows that was just always on in my home. I feel very connected to it in the way that it feels soothing to hear, even though it is also rooted in trauma. And it also reminds me of my father. Not only did he love the show, but it was the soundtrack of our household. Revisiting these images is also me trying to grasp at something that's no longer with me. The work has started after he passed in 22, and so it does feel that I'm chasing this idea that I can no longer recreate. And I skipped ahead a little too quickly, but this is also another shot of a Law and Order image. And also you can see my Instagram account as well there. There was a video. This is also part of my practice in a way. I never thought I would use social media like this, but it has been interesting to use as a tool to document my work. And strangely enough, it's a great tool for making connections with other artists and other people. Videos like this have allowed me to reach a wider audience and have some really thoughtful conversations that stem from that. This work has been shifting. I am now thinking more about the degradation of an image in a way that reflects how memory works. The work on the left is dealing with multiple layers in a way that we're always trying to grasp at the last remembrance of something, and how those memories that we're always trying to grasp at the last moment doesn't always line up accordingly. The one on the right is the first painting I made in the series to compare the two. I am interested in the glitch of it all, as noted in the other slide too. I'm thinking about how what is natural, the loss of memory and people, can be reflected through art. This is probably one of those more obvious ideas I'm working through right here. And I should note that these are 6 by 8 feet, so this is taking up space and be quite stalling if encountered in the way I intend them to be. So all that said, I want to kind of move on to a different part of my practice, but kind of take a little step back. So this is my business, Spruce Interiors. This is what has fueled my art for many years, and essentially what paid my bills to be able to make the art that I make. Look at her. She's so young. When I came back to the Kalamazoo area after my Master's of Fine Arts, I was here at a time that I wasn't sure what to do or what I truly wanted to be when I grew up. At that point, I was trained as an educator, I had my degree, but I also needed to pay my bills. During multiple stints between schooling, I had worked as an interior painter in Kalamazoo. So when I came back, I decided to start my own business. This business called Spruce Interiors is essentially an interior painting business, but there's a lot more. I was using my foundational skills in art to create a business that allowed color and collaboration to be part of this process. Basically, I helped people understand how they wanted to feel inside of their home. What Spruce taught me over time was how to work inside someone else's vision and help them create something out of it. I am the translator. Not everybody can visualize what something could be, and that is a strong suit of what I can do as an artist. This work is very fulfilling, albeit very different. Not necessarily the way I would collaborate with others. It sometimes can be pretty messy, but in the sense that it's rooted in paint, it's rooted in tools, but the outcome is still feeling just as good. I've met so many wonderful people in this process who have created more opportunities from them, so I think of them as very strong collaborators and where I am right now. Murals have always been a part of my practice, although I don't feel I did it enough early on to truly consider it part of it. But with Spruce, I was meeting enough people that I started to see that there was a need for it, so it became something I offered in my services. I was able to paint murals for restaurants, nurseries, basically anywhere in the house. Right here, my youngest client ever, I painted a Star Wars mural for him. I think he was 5. I learned a lot in this process too, because I don't know anything about Star Wars. So he was able to teach me about characters and storylines, and now I actually have that knowledge. I have no idea what Hoth or what an X-Wing was, but actually now I do know what that means. I also want to acknowledge that I was very privileged in my undergraduate studies. Underneath so many amazing professors, I was able to take classes that helped give me this foundation to be able to shift and do multiple things for my clients and business. You can see I can do illustrative work, but you can see I can also mimic texture as this Fabois bark piece. I was able to learn watercolor, acrylic, and eventually I landed in oil paint. But that is a process I learned, and also different modes of thinking and application. All of these things have served me quite well. As you can tell, I let myself work for the client to figure out what they need. This is nothing necessarily consistent with the work I produce, besides the fact that I'm the one that created it, and someone else helped to guide me. It's still that concept of translating. I've found that to be really helpful in pretty much everything that I do. It was a skill I didn't know I needed until I started my business. I also want to say one more time that this allowed me experiences to meet so many different people and get new perspectives. This is the same client. This is 2 houses, 2 generations of an octopus tentacle of all things. There are relationships I still have today because they trusted me to create something for them. And to them, this is very specific work, and that's precious in the sense that it marks a place. But once you leave that place, it goes with it. Here, the client wanted to recreate that feeling again when they moved into their new space. This is a piece that lives in a restaurant. In fact, this was one of many murals produced for this business. This is a collaboration between me and the client to recreate the essence of master painters, but also adapt them to a client's need. If I remember correctly, we were thinking about waitstaff and family members when creating all these portraits. So we're getting a little bit closer to current day. Currently, I am an instructor at Western Michigan University in the Gwen Frostick School of Art. I teach foundation arts as well as painting, which is my main focus. There, I was able to develop a course about murals as a special topic. I found it very interesting to teach the concept of collaboration, because I understand that making art can really be an isolating event. In these courses, based on the structure, I had to make artists work with other artists. And coming off the climate of COVID, this was 2023, I believe, this was definitely a challenge. People were learning to become comfortable with each other again in close contact. These students are really impressive to me. While sometimes things felt uncomfortable, they were willing to try new things because I could tell they wanted to be a part of something bigger. Here, these students are working in Corman Hall, creating a mural that is quite large, but also serves as a placemaking tool. This building is very long and very white, but now there is a guide to break up what might be considered monotony and allow someone to say, hey, go find the blue wall mural and make a left. I think they were quite proud to have accomplished making this for themselves, but also for the students of the Frostick School of Art. Another exciting opportunity that came from this murals course was working alongside community businesses. Here, we collaborated with Continental Linen Service to create a request for proposals. Essentially, it's a contest. For those not familiar, a request for proposal is a common call format so that a client can understand the parameters of a project that they want to see realized. Groups of students created these proposals and presented them to CLS, who in turn chose these 3 to create their anniversary mural. This is created on MDO board that lived outside for the summer and eventually moved into their main office, which is a great solution to showcase the work, but also protect it for longer by bringing it inside. It was quite remarkable to see the joy of these students, that when they are awarded the opportunity, they were interviewed for our local news channel, and most importantly, they were paid for their efforts. This is the moment I realized the importance of murals even more than I had before. So people need to understand that the specific way of thinking is very unique as artists, and not everybody possesses this. It is a skilled trade. And it should be able to make art for other people, to use that as their skills. And I'm glad I was able to show them this as a feasible career path as well. Teaching murals shows students that there are options other than just claiming that you are a capital A artist outside of college. Being able to apply the skill that we learn either during our undergraduate years or just by being an artist is something that we need more of in our communities. Here you're seeing that wonderful collaboration take place. Students are troubleshooting in real time, helping each other out, and I'm sure having a good time in the process. These are a few process shots here. This is working in Upjohn Park with Guillermo Sotero, who is also known as Asthma Speaks. And he's a local graffiti, I guess we'd call him graffiti artist, and spray paint is his medium. One moment, please. That was a really cool shot of the students working with a local artist that now, let me get this right. He was local. He's a Western Michigan University alumni, and he's now based in Florida. He came back to work with the students in collaboration to create this very large mural, which was super exciting to witness. Here's some in progress shots. The one thing I want to say about this process that was super exciting was to see the reception of making art in public spaces for the students. I've experienced this joy, and it also made me feel so pleased to be able to pass that on to students. People were honking their horns when people were driving by in a non-heckling way. And that was really great. I think people had a really change of thought about what they might be doing when they leave, and maybe this is something they want to develop into their practice. These are events that cannot be planned by oneself. This takes outreach, this takes organization. with another artist, with the university, even with the students. Ultimately, we do this for them in the hopes that this experience will translate them to wherever they might land. This next section is where collaboration has truly taken off for my personal practice. This is where I began working alongside my collaborative partner, Chafe Hensley. You look very serious right here. Chafe and I have known each other for probably 20 years at this point, but we had never worked alongside one another for whatever reason. We had always been busy managing our own lives and businesses and creative practices. I was managing Spruce Interiors while Chafe had recently started using Weirder Wonderland as his umbrella to house his creative practice, murals, and graphic design. One thing that we noticed while working together was that people really wanted to give credit to one person. And because we're both established, our work is known in the community, it was hard to maintain this equality of both of ours experiences rather than looking at it as one unit. We really wanted this to be a 50-50 endeavor as collaborators. So we decided to name our collaborative effort Double Vision. This is not official logo, so don't tell Chafe I did that. But anyways, this way, going forward, the art is made by Double Vision, not Chafe, not Heidi, not Chafe. So this really embraces that collaborative mantra that we hope to carry going forward. So the collaborative endeavor happened here. This is where it began for us. I was commissioned by the business Amy Zane at Earthly Delights to create this mural, or this version of a mural. While I had been working on the design, I realized that this was the opportunity that Chafe and I needed to figure out what collaboration looked like for us. So bringing in Chafe helped me in a lot of ways, personally and professionally. With his background in graphic design, he had the ability to present the work in an even better and more thoughtful way than I had ever imagined. So you can see this is my example of a proposal. And then you look on the left and you see his. Oh, geez. Oh, geez. So you can see here on the left, that's our proposed image, and on the right is the actual completed mural. So Chafe has a way of detailing things out and placing them in a way that makes visualization basically a no-brainer. I want to show you a bit of what it looks like before and after, so you can get a sense of what this process actually looks like if you haven't experienced it. It's not always the most beautiful thing, but this shows how we lay things out to get the information on the wall before the final work comes together. Something I began to notice that was interesting was the meshing of our artistic styles. Me being super painterly, Chafe having these nice clean edges. This kind of appears in our work as a kind of a collage right now. Here you can see my painterly bumblebee meets up with these hard, bright edges and these green grass or leaves. It's really beautiful to bounce between the two, and it makes for something interesting that I don't think either of us would have ever conjured up on our own. This work proved to be very rewarding. We received a lot of really nice feedback, but more so, we realized how much we enjoyed working alongside each other. And so this formed what would become Double Vision going forward. We have had opportunities to collaborate since then. For the sake of this talk today, I want to focus on our experience with Brush the Block. And for those who are not familiar, I'm sure most of you are, that was a festival that happened in September of last year in its inaugural state of a mural festival of, I think, 6 different murals that were happening in Kalamazoo. And it was a really cool experience that I want to talk about. So we, as collaborators, brainstorming starts to look very different when you want to 50-50 something. And I can't believe I'm showing you my screen. Look at this. There's a lot going on right there. This is what it looks like when I start idea building. And it's pretty wild. It's like one of those things, it's me throwing the kitchen sink. And I didn't necessarily understand how this was going to work out, but having a collaborator allows me to, in real time, troubleshoot things and then make some appropriate shifts. Here you can see the process is starting. We are still not there, but things are beginning to take shape. While it's still unresolved, bouncing ideas off of somebody else who is also a creative thinker is a really fun process to engage in. You can see the ideas are starting to come to the surface. And there's lots of trial and error to get to where we need to be. Lots of different iterations of the same concept that we were working through. This next image shows our final proposal for Brush the Block. We were awarded the spot on the side of the building that houses the stamped robin. There's a lot that goes into making a mural, especially for a festival. I'm kind of flying through this for the sake of time, but I wanted to show you what this painting process looks like. So on the far left, you see what our image looks like superimposed on the surface we are about to paint. The one in the middle kind of shows where we deal with the transparency level, so we can see what the building looks like behind it. And then you can also see on the right, there's a bunch of white dashes and things happening there. That is when we scraped the wall in preparation and primed it all. These are all part of the process in that when we deal with transparency, we can start to see the lines of the building, which also double as a grid. So in our process, we don't project or trace anything. We use the grid, we use the building and all of its marks to show us where we need to paint. And just like the previous mural that I had shown you, it's not always the most beautiful thing. These are the moments where I might be second guessing, but when I have my paint partner next to me, we both understand that this is just part of the process. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge that we have some really beautiful drone footage that I'm showing today. And also in the previous work at Western Michigan University. These images were captured by my dear friend, Dan Foley. I didn't realize until creating this presentation that he was also a huge collaborator in my mural practice. He was a collaborator for a lot of people, and we might not have necessarily realized that. Sadly, Dan passed away this year before I could have told him that. Does it make you dizzy? It was really cool to see this because, well, this is even higher than I went, but it really reflects the experience of going up to that scale for people that might not have. It gave my mother vertigo. So, and through reflecting on this today, it's just my hope that everybody has a Dan Foley, that everybody has a collaborator that is encouraging and supportive and showing up to do said support when they are not the ones working directly alongside you. This is how we embrace our community, and this is how we build it. So I'm coming back to these blobs again. These are the moments when I start thinking again about that pollination, how every event is happening and changing us with each event. I had been so focused on what was immediately in front of me that I might not have noticed the shift between me and Chafe, and now double vision, but I started thinking about all of the people that experience this public art and go away being changed. And in turn, I am being changed by every interaction I'm having with somebody affected by it. So this is the final piece from the Stamped Robin mural, and I would like to read you the artist statement. Let's see if I can get that zoomed up. The name of this piece is called Looking for a Soft Place to Land. It's a reflection on movement, connection, and the quiet. Hold on, let me get my little cursor over here. It's about regrowth found in community. It honors small moments, familiar rhythms of home, renewal, and return unfolding with ease. Amidst the drift of time and change, there are still places to land, to root, and to rise again. Set at the intersection of nature and city life, this mural invites viewers to consider the seasonal rhythm of Kalamazoo's landscape. It offers a moment of gentle flight within the urban bustle, both a resting place and a point of departure, where the natural and built environments move together, softening the edges between them. In honoring this delicate bounce, the mural reflects the spirit of Kalamazoo, a place that grows, adapts, and offers a soft place to land. And for funsies, I just wanted to show you what the final piece looked like versus the concept. It's just a small flex that we got really close. I also want to give a shout out to my buddy Chafe for being such a wonderful collaborator and a dear friend. We were having a lot of fun that day. Shifting forward, I want to talk about something upcoming that I'm really excited about, something that pushes these concepts even farther. I've been awarded a fellowship through the Kalamazoo Literacy Council in partnership with Western Michigan University. The goal of my fellowship has been to create curriculum that encompasses this idea of working within our community to preserve and restore public art. This endeavor is called the Edison Mural and Public Art Academy. The concept is that this is a free education for anybody in the community who wants to learn about the foundations of making murals. This is a way to remove barriers and stop with the gatekeeping. I don't have all the images to share with you because it starts tomorrow, so stay tuned. But I'm really excited about it. I'm looking forward to sharing about this process and how everything will shake out. But ultimately, I'm thrilled to also be collaborating with another local artist, Maya James, to help train new muralists to assist in the restoration of her mural, the Literacy Lane mural. That was in the previous slide. Let's go back. Right there, you can kind of see an aerial view of it. This workshop also provides the opportunity for community to gain certification through Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. And this is my hope that this piece of paper creates more opportunity for more people to get their foot in the door in mural making and in public art. This is also an opportunity for our community to have more pride and more involvement in the act of public art. When we see ourselves in the art around us, it changes the energy around us too. I could yammer on about the public health benefits of experiencing art. I'm going to save that for another talk. What I can say is that there is a dire need for more artists to show their voices and their perspectives. which leads me into the concept quickly of community responsibility. This is a call to ask more people to make more art. Our world is pretty gray, and in that gray are these little pollinators floating around, connecting with our community and changing the way we act within our world. I hope that there are walls available for all of us, and I really do think there are. This is also something important about understanding the responsibility of making art in public space. You don't always get to choose who gets to see it. You don't always control the context in which they experience it. And that requires a kind of listening and a kind of humility that I personally have developed over a long time, and that many more people will experience that same thing. I feel very lucky that I get to pass this on to other people. And adding to that, this idea that we are all coming together and changing the trajectory of something. I hope that we keep going with that. It feels good, and I think that we really need that right now. Back in my nose. I look forward to connecting with you all in the future for public art events. I would love to collaborate. So I would also love to help you collaborate with other people. So let's keep in touch. Please check out my website. You've got all of my connectors right here. Follow me on the gram. And thank you for your time. Do we have any questions? Okay.
So do you still do, I mean, you started out on your journey doing very personal and focused art, and you've moved to collaborative with the public. Do you still do personal, private art? And have you noticed an effect in that art from the collaboration journey that you've taken?
Okay, that's a good question. Yes, I do still make my own work. I'm currently exhibiting. I'm out there. I'm active with my studio practice. I kind of compartmentalize them, to be honest. So I have my moment to be me and do what I want to do, my trauma art. But then also, I'm never going to make that a public thing, right? So it's a different way that I approach art making, especially when I'm collaborating, because that's a whole different line of objective. So I think it's important for me to have my compartments. That's my type of personality. So hopefully that answers your question. Was there anything else in there?
I think you've answered it.
Okay.
I guess what I'm asking is when you look at the style and the discipline of your private art,
Yeah.
as the public art created a transformation in how you do it. Like you mentioned in your public art, you went to much more finite lines and
Yes.
firm lines. Do you now find that leading over into your private art?
Yeah. I do. And I think that is something that I hadn't really thought about until you mentioned it, but I approach the way I make my work probably a little bit differently, especially after collaborating with Chafe, being a graphic designer, being really clean, and I'm messy. So I've learned that my construction has shifted. Things are a little bit more sound, like you can really get some stability in the art that I make. It's a little bit more thoughtful in that sense.
Heidi?
Hi.
Hi. I've experienced you in the professional sphere. You painted at my home.
Yeah.
It was quite an interesting experience. I am looking at your theme, looking for a soft place to land.
Mm-hmm.
What came first? The handoff of the naming, or you were looking for a way to name something?
Good question. So that for Brush the Block, sometimes we have themes that are presented to us of, the theme is community, hope, insert whatever there. And for Brush the Block, it was open-ended. So we were kind of left to our own devices of what we wanted to make. And in that, it took us some time to collaborate on that as well, to think about what do we want to say, what do we want to reflect. So we decided to focus on the community component of everything and what that meant for us. Kalamazoo is very transient. I was a transplant myself. I came here a long time ago as a student, and I ended up staying here because it felt like home. And I know some people kind of dip in for school, dip out, so on and so forth. So the goal was that seeing something like that image on a wall is a bit of comfort, and it makes them feel a little bit more connected and rooted in space, even if it's a temporary thing. So that's where the soft place to land came from. From there, we just started thinking about the world around us. What could we signal that kind of feels welcoming? Which probably sounds funny because we have a gigantic falcon encroaching on our work, but it's also placemaking, right? The falcons are swarming in that area. That's where they usually nest. So it's also a nod to the environment that we have right there.
What age group do you work with the murals for the Literacy Council?
It's all ages, I believe, but I think on average it's 16 and up. It's new though, so we're going to see there might be multiple sections. I'm really thrilled that there was such an interest in it. It was supposed to be for 12 people and 50 people inquired. I'm not teaching 50, but the idea is that there's people that want to learn this skill, so there's going to be multiple iterations of this. It's my hope. All right. Thank you.